and nearly killed by the father of her child. And now, more than 6 years later, she's sharing her story, hoping it will help others. She moved to Saratoga County to get away. Her home here was supposed to be Katie Gilbert's safe haven. Took her children in the middle of the night and went upstate to escape this man, the father of one of her children. Stephen Lorario abused heroin and Katie.
I had started saving as much money as I could to escape and get out. Finally, in 2016, I packed up my truck and my trailer and everything I could and disappeared and moved to Greenfield Center.
To escape him.
To escape him and get away.
It didn't take him long for him to find her, but she didn't let him back in until more than a year later.
I let him back in our lives because he looked like he was doing better. He was at the bottom of the barrel, but he was working on it. He was going to meetings.
But that didn't last. Soon, Lorario was using again. One day in April of 2018, he found some money that Katie had been saving for an emergency.
We got into a huge fight. He wound up punching me in the face, knocking me out, and while I was knocked out, he shot me in the side of my head with a shotgun.
You survived.
I did indeed.
But it wasn't easy.
No, it's not.
Lorario was tried. I spoke to him in jail in February of 2019. He denied trying to kill Katie.
Did you shoot her?
I did not.
I remember watching him constantly wiping his hands on his legs when he was talking with you in the jail and saying the bizarre things that he had said.
The jury didn't buy it either. He was convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to 25 years in prison. And for Katie Gilbert, every time she looks in the mirror, she's reminded of what he did to her.
I'm never going to be the same Katie I was before any of this happened.
Regardless, she's not letting it define her.
And that's one thing he can't take away from me is my pride in surviving this. Not being a victim to what he did, being a true survivor.
She is a survivor. Coming up at 5, the struggle Katie is having medically to get her life back. And then at 6, her advice to others in abusive relationships and the help that is available today.
The bravery it took for her to speak up and share that story.
It certainly is. She certainly is brave, and she wants people to know that that phone, though it can feel like 5,000 pounds, that's her words, you got to make the call to get help.
Oh, she's wonderful for sharing that, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing.
She was the victim of a horrific act of violence, nearly cost her her life. The father of her child was out to kill her. Now she's speaking out about what he took from her and her quest to get her appearance back.
Mark Mulholland is here with our 13 Investigates report. Mark.
Well, Rachel and Steve, it's hard to imagine all that Katie Gilbert has endured. Shot at point-blank range, losing her eye and part of her face. Now, despite setback after setback, she's hoping modern medicine will help her put that horrifying experience behind her. Katie Gilbert knows it's not easy for some people to see the right side of her face. It was blown off by her attacker. Stephen Lorario is the father of one of her 2 children. He used a double-barrel shotgun trying to kill Katie in her Greenfield home. It happened back in April of 2018. She survived and was able to testify against him at trial. A jury found him guilty of attempted murder, and a judge sentenced him to 25 years in state prison. His actions sentenced Katie to a lifetime of serious medical challenges and sometimes rude stares from others who don't have any idea what she's been through. She's endured multiple surgeries and setbacks. Doctors have been trying unsuccessfully to recreate her eye socket using her own tissue, but so far, none of it has worked.
Because of all the scar tissue and the infections, the neurosurgeons are scared to proceed. So now I'm stuck at a standstill waiting to either find someone who's willing to give it a try or someone knows a different way to go about it. Because I just want to go back to the Katie that I felt April 7th, 2018 before 8 o'clock that night.
Through it all, Katie Gilbert remains remarkably optimistic, telling me that shortly after our discussion that she heard from her neurosurgeon who says after consulting with Katie's other doctors, they want to do more scans to determine how much eye socket is needed. Coming up at 6, the important advice she has for others who may be in a violent relationship right now. Rachel, Steve, back to you.
Oh, certainly an amazing woman there. Thank you for sharing her story with us, Mark. Can't wait to hear more.
But first, she survived a vicious attack at the hands of her boyfriend, and now, still dealing with the pain and damage that he caused, a Saratoga County woman is sharing her horrifying story. New at 6, Katie Gilbert offers hope for others who are suffering through abusive relationships.
My first major surgery was April 8th.
At first glance, you wouldn't know the horror Katie Gilbert endured. In April of 2018, she was attacked by her live-in boyfriend, Stephen Lorario. Katie says he was a heroin addict and found the money that she'd been saving for an emergency.
He wound up punching me in the face, knocking me out, and while I was knocked out, he shot me in the side of my head with a shotgun.
You survived.
I did indeed.
But it's been a long, difficult 6.5 years. One surgery after the next, trying to get a synthetic right eye, but first needing a new eye socket. All have failed so far. She's on a waiting list at NYU's face transplant program.
I don't need a whole face. I just need a small section.
The scars remain, and there are reminders every time she looks in the mirror, every trip to the store.
I get stared at a lot.
Katie says the stares really bother her son, who was just 4 when his mom was attacked. Through it all, though, she maintains a remarkably good attitude, saying sarcasm and wit help her cope. Her attacker, who I interviewed in 2019, is serving his 25-year prison sentence. He's not allowed to have contact with her. Someday, though, she might ask him a question. What do you want to say to him then?
Why? For what reason did you think this was a good idea? And were you really trying to kill me, or was this a scare tactic?
She tells me she's sharing her story to help others. Talks about coming upstate to Saratoga County in 2016 to escape him.
I packed up my truck and my trailer and everything I could and disappeared and moved to Greenfield Center.
But letting him back in her life more than a year later as he was getting help. She says she wished she'd gotten help sooner.
Sharing my story helps me, helps the next person know that they can walk away before it gets too bad. Forget the fact that you have to start over, because it's going to be the best fresh start you've ever had.
Katie credits Wellspring for helping her with that fresh start. It's a nonprofit that helps survivors of relationship abuse. Today, I spoke with Wellspring's Director of Community Engagement and Philanthropy about what's available to people who are in abusive relationships and need to get out. People who are concerned that they're in an abusive relationship right now,
Yeah.
What can they do right now? What are the good first steps?
Yeah, I would just say to call us. We have a crisis hotline available 24/7. It doesn't matter what day it is. It doesn't matter what time of night it is. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday. You can call us, and we have trained professionals who are ready to help.
And what if they're concerned? The help is free and confidential. The number of that 24/7 hotline is on your screen. It is 518-584-8188. Also, if an abuser is tracking a cell phone, Wellspring can provide phones that allow victims to contact them in a safe way. And they say you don't have to be in the middle of a crisis to call. In fact, they recommend that you call.